statement in regard of Jesus' bloodline. I want to clarify here, as I have certainly triggered the latest a buzz around the entire protocol. I have pulled out the protocol to point out that it is in cover-up for actual imperial event and actual imperial bloodline. By saying so, I am annulling entire concept of Bible as existing on parameters of philosophical brainwashing or whatever, or we might call it various as matter of some kind of historic records of certain events that have taken place at certain period of time on specific circumstances. However, my intention here is to point out that it is in question and that everyone should actually pay attention to that particular fact. We talk about principal imperial bloodline that continue to be used as some kind of paragon, as some kind of foundations, as some kind of platform upon which are being launched various political platforms that basically still continue to use the principal imperial bloodline as some kind of indicator in what direction they would be moving with their political platforms. So that is, as someone is still on some kind of life support when it comes to political platforms in a given period of time. And that life support is actually still very much actual principal imperial bloodline. So the entire event happens to be extremely political, and it would be misrepresenting the actual Jesus protocol by continuing to drive it on some kind of religious parameters. I have pulled it out here as a political event, and I want to point out to what an extent continue to be very much actual valid political reality upon which present political regimes or systems continue to build up. That's very important momentum here, and anyone continue to make dust out of speaking of Jesus' bloodline as a religious event is actually contributing to cover up the actual real event taking place on the planet as we speak. Second momentum I want to highlight within in entire event happening here with my work is that I declare active monarchical platform reintroducing the significance and claiming the protocol King Arthur. Therefore, active house I am introducing within the monarchy protocol active house versus passive house. Passive house would be more on the level of housekeeper or keeper of the protocol until the next active reincarnation happens. Clear case, I'm reporting it, I have reporting it like that, and I launched my work on such parameters. I'm going to insist that that's a very clear case, very clear situation, very clear event going on here. In that context, I also have requested my kids are being given diplomatic immunity, therefore treatment of some kind of protectionism as I'm developing this level of discussion and work that all of the major political houses and various other associated institutions are using as we speak. In that regard, also, I would say today that kids would not have right to freewillingly exploit the protocol on their account, on their behalf, which would be into many instances even influenced by various Hollywood and alike playgrounds that certainly found themselves orbiting the entire event within the centuries, since last century. So I want to point out that this very specific protocol that exists in very specific platform, which is political. And here entertainment industry does not have upper access or upper word on any of it. This is, I'm going to repeat again, political protocol. In that context, it should be understood that people that are born in the houses are obliged, first of all, to be aware that they belong to the protocol, and it is not exactly on them to decide how they would like to behave within given within that given protocol. There is some kind of liability to specific conduct because you simply belong to a protocol. Now, because my kids have not been born in active house, and by active protocol, they would not be brought exactly under such mental construct. And although I'm constantly insisting on this, I obviously was having so much to deal with that many aspects all of the sudden, like for 2 millenniums, nothing being done. So I would have not insist probably too much on this particular event, yet I'm finding lately being very much exploited within some kind of virtual reality branch, and I'm going to say that even virtual reality is not permissible here, because we talk about integrity as a matter of being in service to a protocol. When you're in service to a protocol, you have to bring high integrity note here, and no one have right to play with integrity of the one that are servants to a protocol on first account. We talk first account servants to a protocol. General public does not have a right to play with their integrity. We talk first account service to the protocol. My verdict for today, this legal protocol, this legal event, my verdict for today. You do not have right as a society, as a community, as an industry to play with servants to a protocol. First degree. I'm talking first degree event. Next event I want to highlight here, confusion happening on the territories in terms of property rights. When you talk about nations, property rights is not to people. Property rights is to a nomination account. Nomination account is a monarchy, because monarch protocol is guardian to the land. Its historic character exists on the parameters of guardian to the land or shepherd to the sheep. So we don't have here you do not raise here protocol ownership. There is no such thing as ownership. You have concept of administration of certain territorial event, administration, and then you have nomination account that is appointed on duty, which is the duty to administrate the territory. First principle account, that's what monarchy is. No one talk here about ownership. We don't think ownership here. You talk about duty and responsibility. No ownership. There is no such thing as ownership to what is a state land, what is public land, what is land for humanity to live on. You don't talk personal ownership. You talk administration or entrusted or entrusted. You talk about account of being entrusted. And of course, then you talk about certain features that fall in category of such duties, of someone accepting such duties and such responsibilities. I'm going to repeat again, you don't speak ownership when it is in question collective approach, collective event, as it is state or as it is political formation for community purposes. You don't have here ownership protocol. You have administration protocol. That automatically trigger a way how you find yourself thinking about the entire event, and how you find yourself administrating and organizing in the given context. And the overall psychology that happens among the population. Well, first of all, accent become preserving the historic land and providing the best function of historic land with the highest level of moral, ethics, and degree of competence, as straightforward as it may sound. communicating also to population in properly crafted constitutional platform where everyone understands what's happening here and what's all about. It's quite straightforward approach here. I have also made quite of a deal out of insisting on historic heritage, on parameters of specific cultural identities, historic identities, which would trigger specific features of a collective, of group of population, cultural, therefore, features, cultural behavior. I have made big deal of it because it does matter to the levels, to the extent it does matter on personal level, it would matter on cultural level. In that regard, I found it critically important that there is not that much confusion what kind of king or queen can administrate certain territories, and how far we can talk about some kind of range of character and personality and personal features that would fall in category of historic heritage account. Now we talk historic heritage account here also as a matter of real event. A real event is historic heritage account is a real event, and that is the standard platform on which you continue to drive your historic heritage platform. You cannot reinvent what at a certain period of time become principal historic heritage event on which you're driving your entire historic heritage existence. I mean, historic existence in a given territory, which is being founded upon very specifically constructed historic heritage. I mean, historic house, historic characters. You already have defined principal house here. It's not something you argue if you're using it. And if it is confirmed as a not just national but regional stamp, that brings that level of game field, that brings the game field, the entire political game field on certain levels. So here a hierarchy become also, or the level on which the thinking, the administration, the functioning is happening, the level is also critical point here. Here we reach much more absolute concept of discussion, where we reach the point of earth very easily, because we talk about higher levels of thinking, of mental frequency altogether. Where's the level of sainthood happening here? And that goes as that far as sainthood, and beyond that is metaphysical. Now that is how it is important that you keep eye on what it and respect what is the actual identity of certain territorial historic heritage platform, and that you don't act as in some kind of a high school football game here. I also want to point that when we talk Jesus, the entire concept of a religion, the highest figure is actually Mother Mary, which Maria translates in Serb language as Bogorodica, which means the one that is giving birth to God. So that's the highest figure actually in religion. It's not Jesus, but his mother. And because I have just explained, we talk about imperial event behind that story or under that story. Therefore, we would be talking about Queen protocol here before we talk about the prince, which would have been Judah and Jesus princesses. We would talk about actually mother. Somehow the entire event repeat within the legend of Rome and concept of Roman imperialism emerging from there. So we talk about very much event that's happening on a very same territorial plateau in a given historic time. I'm going to remind again that all of the references indicate that we talk about principal figure, not Jesus, but mother or queen as initial protocol, which connects to concept of creation and giving birth and female energy altogether, because of the reference giving birth to a god. Therefore, only a goddess can give birth to a god, to son god. That woman will need to be goddess. We talk about a reference to creation, concept of life and life energy itself. So that is where we reach metaphysical event as well. Identity-wise, I would also like to remind, we would be talking most probably about mixed bloodline, and that is what I would where I would recognize swing actually, and this is better translation to swing. We have this level of authority. We have mixed breed. We have reference to goody as reference to mixed bloodline. We have the Leonese point here. We have reaching here Macedonia point at X breed, I'm going to insist, within the historic parameters, because we have kids happening here, and in everything that happened aftermath on the territories as of how they are today, we would be speaking about as most acceptable event in translation of such initial story would be that we recognize that is in question now monarchy protocol and principal monarchy concept at the point of mixed bloodlines, on which I insist all the time. Within the specific of the historic circumstances, we certainly have here something very active going on, and that is that Bogorodica or Maria or Mary, which is not, I wanted to point out also here, when it is in question imperial account, it cannot be treated as a national account. Now, there's a major mistake that continue to be present on territories where imperial accounts continue to be understood and transformed into national account. That is more happening on some kind of franchise level, which explains how far each of the monarchy houses today actually are associated to an initial matrix event, and in the same time have become very much disconnected from the initial their own matrix event, which first of all would be happening on planetary level, and would be in reference to creation of humanity itself, all of the humanity. Therefore, that is where you reach that kind of reference to God levels. Well, this is critically important. We talk about also concept of genetic supervision of in the way how I understand the entire matter is very much the function itself. It is about some kind of genetic or DNA maintenance of the protocol. Most of the time I talk by default about humanity and maintaining humanity and managing humanity. Now that is embodied in the DNA information of my making. In that context, to have certain nations to continue to talk about some kind of national ownership of my character is simply inadequate to the actual event. I can understand that in previous historic times people would not understand at certain times, certain time framework, would not understand neither the past, neither the actual situation on certain territories. So would be much more opportunistic and much more within the given time predatory that is in a given historic sequence of the historic happenings. Narrow-minded rather, should I say, and would be acting in this kind of narrow-minded approach. That is time where we have crusaders, and when the entire story become very much perceived as a national event, not as a planetary event, or even if has been perceived as a planetary event, has not been understood properly, and the stake that would be falling on all of the humanity in a consequence at some point of time. Therefore, you from Crusader point would not have the right now to appropriate some event that is not exactly national, but it is planetary. You don't have time to condition it, to override it, or to manipulate it, because in such way you position yourself on the level of planet and just simply manipulate the entire planetary concept, the entire planetary construct. So the point of Crusaders relating to this event explained accordingly. And I would expect that get immediately dropped from being perceived as such situation. Needless to say that various economic units happen today is some continuation on some kind of a sense of continuation of the previous predatory behavior, found themselves now equally continuing that practice of disconnected and historical sense and diffractioned historical existence, where everything become a point of economy and human become discriminated, especially when in question the most important and the most principal historic events, which is paradoxical, and I simply can't understand why people continue to stubbornly ignore the stake of this event. So that is what we would connect all together to a initial capital generation or Ark of Covenant, famously Jewish event. Covenant means kove, means cursing, or is reference to woman. In reference to woman that is of sharp wordings, sharp words. It is reference to queen, there's reference to swing, reference to Maria, a reference to a woman that's giving birth to a god, a reference to principal imperial event, a reference, I'm going to say, to Olympia herself. To use the entire event as a matter of initial capital generation and associating everything to some kind of human trafficking and sex trafficking is simply disrespectful and inappropriate. And in the rooting of it, I'm just going to find the nature of man resisting to be governed and to be ordered what to do. It's quite high price to pay from position of woman for what basically is failure of men to accept to be orderly and organized and civil and continue to walk on its path towards becoming human from initial position of being crossbred with who knows what, probably with monkeys. What is on the other side, it is still matter of breeding. And I would not now go into Adam and Eve protocol. I would rather now, in this occasion, speak about the one that was in charge of the entire event. And the protocol that would be administrating the entire event, which is holy grail of the entire humanity, and then become violated at the point of a woman trying to teach the humanity as well. It was not just about producing humanity, it is also about to make humanity, which is the issue of the present times as well. Nothing changed with millenniums of time. And still there would be resistance to people that insist on much more orderly behavior, or to women that exist on much more orderly behavior, uh, and so on and so on. But we talk about very harsh price that has been thrown to the character itself, to the house itself, by the economy, and that should stop. It is going out of, it has become insane, out of sanity. It's going out of sanity, and it should stop right now. I'm going to address this event to Israel and to Palestine for that matter as well, because we talk about same territory and people that have been living on that territory in a given historic time. I wouldn't split here Jewish from Palestine. They're equally sharing the responsibility of that historic paradigm at a point of time. It is another question, are we not talking about different location? Is it not the matrix Macedonia itself? Including economy itself at ignition point. As we speak, I'm going to ask you to differentiate here now the principal houses as a principal stamp versus the principal economic protocol or franchise scheme that is happening very much on levels Israel Roman imperialism, actually. We talk here gladiator, glade tour, art tour, happening at point Roman imperialism. The breaking point is happening somewhere here, somewhere at that exact event of Judaism or Judah betraying Jesus and Roman imperialism emerging out of gladiatorism or Arthurism as a matter of tourism protocol and making economy this money relating event. That's critical point here. I'm going to repeat again, we're talking about principal imperial event, principal imperial house. We're talking about a reference to actual political event associated to the earliest of the creation of life on earth and creation of humanity on earth, becoming centerpiece for money making on earth. That is absurd and it's unsustainable on its major premise, and that is not relating properly to the concept of creation of humanity itself and organizing of humanity itself. That is absurd, simply absurd. I'm going to again assume that it happened because of disconnect from the actual comprehension of what really it is all about. And here what comes on surface also is the concept of humanity and the conflicting line in the concept of humanity itself as old man versus new man society, and conflict that exists on the line of old man versus new man society. And here it is emerging father and equally as parallel event as father son, father of God, which completely covers up the actual meaning of Bogorodica, and Bogorodica as a reference to mother of God, which somehow translates later on into father of God, and which is rather fabricated event and cover the previous event. At the point of father of God, we have also emerging or getting much more on surface old man versus new man society, which continue to be problem to present days, and it is all basically matter of initial event of managing humanity, which become, however, later on deviated and somehow taken by older societies and as ownership to older societies within the fraternity momentum. And technically completely losing the accurate translation to actual historic event when it comes to creation and humanity and concept of humanity on earth. And to the specifics, because we talk about monarchy as a matter of managing humanity, and to the extent that humanity is about humans, we talk also here about the oldest hierarchy of all of the times. I'm speaking therefore in specifics, already mentioned my kids, and certainly my position founding myself as neither on the sky, neither on the land, as simply there was no place to land, because everything became highly nationalized, which is absurd to the point that we as a humanity associate ourselves to a planet before to associate ourselves to nation. That simply has not been covered. So you see, when it comes to personal levels, to some of us simply appears as we don't have land to land, and it should not be like that. So that should be now will need to be explained, and why you still have not managed to work out on what land this work is supposed to land. I have chosen England because I found that that is that is where the protocol is the most developed at the moment, and to me it is very important to continue walking, not to waste time and from such positions of the most accomplished protocol to further deliver next level to it. So I have been doing that within some kind of virtual reality myself, which is much more. It was much more supported by actual elaborations going on a daily basis, actual work delivered here, and I wonder where. I mean, I don't wonder. Clearly, we stuck here at. I mean, someone continues to reinvent various war conflicts. Um, I really don't know. Is it someone in intention to tell us that we are not that much of a planet? I can't see any war here standing as an excuse on the way of my intention to declare the planet, with war on it or without war on it. The planet is still here and it will need to be declared. So such excuses would have very little light accordingly. Next question is to take more care of my kids and to have them much more under my wings, under my supervision, because as I have said, it is in question very sensitive functioning. They are the one inheriting it, and it is within my rights to have as much control over their lives and to insist that they be the most informed and the most appropriately assisting my work. The way how today is the entire matter, me in New Zealand, they in England, I can't see that that's being respected. Well, in monarchy of England, we have the family very much holding together. In our case scenario, we still have this system of disconnecting the family members. Always with intention to provide proper, to continue with further manipulation of the entire event. Here I'm going to recognize what I have not mentioned in the previous discussion, of today discussion, is therefore the place of tribunal societies in all of this, as of the earlier times overstepping at some point over the protocol, and by the protocol fraternity actually taking over as the entire concept of and manipulating it with highly opportunistic manner that today translates into enslaving the protocol new men, which by the way would not be the latest event. The entire humanity would exist on parameters of latest generation. Now, at some point, somehow someone decided to break the protocol human itself and to transform it into ownership itself. That is absolutely unacceptable, and it will need to be dropped immediately. In that context, I insist that my kids will need to be readmitted to me, and I be given proper place from where I'm going to declare monarchy of Earth and continue my work under a roof and flag of monarchy of Earth. I'm entasking all of the monarchies of the Earth with task to therefore prepare what I'm asking for and deliver that event rather than continue to make a big deal out of their own presentation, completely numb on what is being expected from them, and that is to deliver monarchy of Earth. This critically important event, critically important concept, and it will need to be communicated properly to them. They will need to understand this properly. It is their duty, and no one should have a right also to manipulate them on what is their God-given duty call and God-given liability, God-given responsibility. Going further into specifics, I also have son to marry before daughter to marry. As we are all aware, it was first to be married Prince William, and then it was going Prince Harry to be married. I equally therefore insist that I have to marry first son before I'm to marry a daughter. I understand that is some kind of conflicting line now between Serbia and Macedonia, and Serbia trying to take over. As I have said many times, this is crossbred, mixed bloodline, and there is no national position that can possibly walk higher Then what is imperial mixed breed bloodline? I'm talking every single day, over and over again. It is crossbred, it is mixed bloodline, and Serbia continue to play some kind of national platform here. It is absolutely unacceptable. I'm going to insist, therefore, I have first son to marry before to marry a daughter. It's going to be as I command. I therefore command all of the monarchies to become highly engaged, to give me information of all of the girls that are in age to be married, so we see what is available for my son, and we proceed first with that marriage, and then we go with marriage of my daughter. That is how it is. I command to be that way. I would like to be European. That would be European monarchy in question, because I want to return to Europe after experiment with America, and I want to work with Europe to improve the processes that have been stagnative there, and to continue what continue to be as a matrix territory to this entire event of latest human history. I don't discriminate anyone else, but this is European story, was evolving in millenniums of time as a European story, and I want to continue to play it how it should be played. The rest of the continents belonging to Earth would be expected to, as soon as possible, find themselves equally organized and equally civilized, so they can be readmitted in planetary community. And do not give me excuses that someone else was preventing you to be admitted in a civilization. Do your homework. You're wasting too much time on excavating whoever and whatever. I have found you today guilty on promoting fraternity and old society above new society. Stop with excuses. If it is hard for gorillas to become human, let's admit and put that on paper properly. If you need your help, you're going to state it properly. It's going to be properly stated within the constitutional framework of the planetary matters. And not get confused. When I get my foot there, and you don't get confused why my foot is there, but then I end up paying price for it, forget about that history. Put your request on the paper, please. And to repeat, to say again, also have said it a million times, the cleric of my house will be delivering the Constitution of Earth, which I have roughly already crafted, followed by thousands of pages of discussion going on a daily basis in the last 10 years. Work I enclose, I have informed the United Nations as well. I expect monarchies to be much more active on this, and to fulfill their duty as we speak. I'm going to make a move in a short period of time, and I would expect that you be prepared. Also, I would expect that you initiate this rather than I, because I initiated the request. It was on you to answer the duty call. You are supposed to answer a duty call, and you will need to explain to me why you are still not answering to me your duty call. Or should we maybe ask Serbia for that particular matter? Because they appear lately to be all over the place as their God themselves. I'm going to remind Serbia that the entire concept of creation is associated with narrative of female energy. And when it comes to that particular specifics, I think I have spoken today about specifics enough as well.